Okey, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Dan pertama kali sekali kita ambil peluang ni lah untuk ucapkan selamat berpuasa bulan Ramadan bagi our brother Starians and
Yep.
also sebab kita dah masuk lingkungan 10 hari yang terakhir ni. So sama-samalah kita sebelum sibuk dengan persiapan hari raya walaupun hari raya tahun ni agak unik sikit untuk sama-samalah berpesan kepada each other untuk tingkatkan usaha ibadat kita dalam mendapat hikmah dan berkat hari 10 terakhir ni dan lah. Okay. So coming back to this session lah I think this session we just simply call it when the stars talk. Obviously taking cue from the famous kita punya cheer when the stars go marching in hopefully that rallying cry to the punya brotherhood arms inspires the same kind of brotherhood spirit that we have lah before any game, so that we continue can learn from it or what can we participate and partake lah. So I hope we continue to engage with each other. We know physical distancing should not mean social distancing. Maybe it's more important now that we provide support and show each other that socially we are still as close to each other and we are providing support. Banyak issues yang we can learn from each other lah. And then number two, I guess for me, I can say lah, that this use of social media or widening the use of social media beyond browsing, beyond messaging and sharing photographs or whatever stories with each other, but we use it as a platform that is actually beneficial. And there's a change that is happening to me, and maybe this period just accelerates all the changes that we are anticipating or putting off for a later date. I nak belajar pasal all the social media use and things like that, and I hope that we can always learn lah from this. So that is why we hope that we plan for this series of talks amongst each others, that we can learn, we can engage, and provide support to each other. And I think this gives birth to the thought of having this series lah. So hari ni kita bertuah lah for our inaugural punya series ni. Kita dapat someone who is actually not unknown lah, no stranger to this social media landscape and all this creative art punya so saudara Johan Ishak, and I think he's wearing his badge punya t-shirt tu dikenali from 5 1992, and so Johan, as I mentioned just now, not a stranger at all to the creative arts landscape. And I think him being the former CEO of Prima TV, and I think in my creative ventures, etc. And also many other things that he has actually in the background been supporting a lot of other studies in their creative ventures. And now Johan, he is the MD for soon to be household name in the TV media space called, if I may, Johan, MD for Awesome TV. So I'm breaking the news to you all. It's a startup, and I think Johan, I think a lot of exciting things are happening, and we look forward to it. So we wish you the best of luck, bro, in that venture. And I know that we look forward to a lot of your contribution to that space. Okay, Johan. So without further ado, I think I'll leave it to you. The format is really laid back.
Okay.
So I leave it to you, bro. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Assalamualaikum. I think first of all, thank you so much for having me in this series, and the first one as well, right? Inaugural. And I would like to apologize because this is the best space I can find in my house. It's nice background, but what it means is that every now and then you will hear my kids shouting, because they'll be running in front of me and they're making noise. So sorry for that, and I will be mixing English and Malay whenever I can to make it more jovial, right? Okay, so I think I was thinking about what to convey, what messages I want to convey to fellow old boys and also Starians who are still in school, if they're watching, is that the experience that I have gone through, since I started working over 20 years ago, somehow, not me choosing to be in the area, but somehow I landed myself in doing a lot of restructuring. I started my work in an accounting firm, actually two accounting firms, Deloitte Touche Tohmat's in Australia and US, and then in PricewaterhouseCoopers, short form PwC, in Malaysia, in UK, in US, in Cairo, various projects, and I somehow landed on a lot of restructuring work. In UK, did a lot of restructuring for asset restructuring for cable and wireless. In Egypt, doing due diligence of Ananda Krishnan's acquisition of the power plant at Port Suez and Port Said, which are the power plants that are under 1MDB now, if I'm not mistaken. And then in Malaysia, huge, all of those companies that went through CDRC, corporate debt restructuring, in 1998 onwards with the creation of Dana Harta and all that. So I was all involved in the various jobs there, and you name it, Maxis, Astro, the demerger of Telecom International away from Telecom to become Axiata, Proton. Dana Harta itself had a lot of jobs that I was involved in, and then basically, and System Television Malaysia Berhad, and MRCB and NSTP at that time, which gave rise to a newborn company called Media Prima Berhad way back in the year 2000, 2001, under Dato' Rahman Ahmad. Well, back then he was Encik Rahman Ahmad, sorry. And subsequently after that, I started a new venture capital for the Ministry of Finance called My Creative Ventures, which is quite unique because we're not talking about restructuring companies, but we're talking about restructuring industry as a whole, for the financial ecosystem, for people like fashion designer, TV production, art gallery, literature, book publication, music publication, and what have you. So that is why I chose restructuring. So I think maybe if I want to share some salient points about what restructuring is all about. Now, I remembered in one of the board meetings of a listed company that I presented sometime way back in 2010, I think, about 10 years ago. And the first slide that I presented is the story of Kodak Moment. And Kodak Moment is not, smile, cheese, and snap. No. Kodak Moment is a sad story. You can hear my son screaming at the back there, sorry. So Kodak Moment is basically Chapter 11 of the US Bankruptcy Act, So what happened to Kodak was they were relying too much on their 95% of source of revenue, which is from the film, the photography film. In fact, Kodak was the one who created digital camera. The photo of planet Earth from the moon was from a Kodak technology. So sorry about that. Okay. All right. So what happened was that I was looking at the TV industry back then, and then sure enough, the TV industry needed to change before it reaches a critical point. You have seen a lot of examples. Nokia failed on overnight. Went bankrupt. Toys R Us, Kodak I mentioned earlier, Blockbuster. And then now we are seeing the same story all over again with the airlines and many restaurants and many hotels, right? So the thing is, you have to anticipate all this. So you have to anticipate all this. That means you must already put in what do you call industry change proof. So what we did, 10 years ago was that we already started online TV. Called tonton.com.my, which housed TV3 and TV7, ATV, and TV9, so that we can grab hold of the viewership when they migrate from normal television onto devices like, mobile phones, iPads, and what have you. So back then, there wasn't any iFlix, no View, no Dim Sum, nothing, no. Or the only thing was Netflix was already there in the US. They just converted from selling CDs online to a streaming service. The industry calls streaming service OTT, over the top. That means you write on the internet. So Malaysia started. I mean, Media Prima started tonton.com.my. So me and Dato' Izzam Omar, so we presented to the board. So we started that to be prepared. But we were very fast. We were too fast indeed, because people has not, at that time, they have not yet migrated onto online. But today we see a lot of people watching, by the millions, watching through online, and then not many. The youngsters don't go to the normal television. So now is about, whatever industry Starians are working or old boys are working in, you need to already build in this what they call, not just recession proof, but technological changes proof. Because normally companies, when they go through ups and downs, they will take it as, cyclical economic cycles. But in the industry that I work in, there is no more industry cycle. That chain has been broken. Now is structural change. It's no longer about 1998 crisis, 2008 crisis. Even if the economy improves, media will still go down because of digital disruption. So you have to do structural changes. Now, digital disruption is a very negative word. So we try to change it to digital opportunity. So we try all sorts of things to be very positive. But at the end of the day, it was very, very painful. At the end of the day, inside our head, it is still digital disruption. Why? Because we have changed everything, but we still cannot make enough money to survive. And that is what digital is having impact to a lot of the industry, because the value becomes lower. For example, if 10 years ago, if you buy a unit of music, used to be one cd, maybe 10 to 12 songs, cost 40 ringgit maybe, right? But now one unit of music is not one cd, it's not even one single, is, I don't know, 40 ringgit Spotify, or whatever, how much you pay per month Spotify, and they got thousands of songs. If you divide it by number of songs, what will you get? It's so small. So it's the same with the media industry. What you see in traditional media like TV, radio, newspaper, the value is a lot higher in terms of the pricing structure compared to digital, when it's so cheap. So therefore, a lot of people run to online, mostly Facebook and Google. So even the small enterprises, SMEs, they rather spend 7,000 ringgit per month do Facebook boosting and what have you. So because of that, you see a significant, not seasonal change, but structural change, where the revenues for advertisement expenditure for TV used to be 2 billion for the whole country. Now half has gone to Facebook and Google, so only left another, not even a billion. It's only probably about 800 million left for all the TV stations, right? So this is a new norm. Okay, you have to face it. It is not going to go back to the old ways. You will not get the old numbers. Forget about looking at 5 years projection. A lot of the merchant bankers like to use 5 years to do their financial projection, cash flow analysis, and what have you. But 5 years becomes too long. Even 3 years has become too long. So now all the companies, they can only do 12 months rolling of a budget or projection. Because why? The market is changing very fast. Technology is coming in every day, and therefore you need to be nimble to change. So this is where the painful thing comes in. When you need to be nimble and to change, your business model must change. Your business model needs to follow the current technology. Therefore, it needs to be very lean and mean. It needs to be nimble. So here is where relevant words such as gig economy, outsourcing, stuff like that comes in. Now, the biggest transportation company in the world do not own a single fleet of cars or vehicle. The biggest accommodation business in the world do not even own hotels. So we're talking about Grab, Uber, Airbnb, stuff like that. So you have to urbanize everything. So these are all the words which make sense from business perspective to stay agile, to stay nimble, so that you can survive financially. But these words are very demonic to some people. For example, the union, So when I had to deal with restructuring, obviously it involves right sizing of the workforce. Unfortunately, you see things like VSS, MSS, restructuring, and what have you. Now it's very painful because you have to deal with the union and you have to deal with the politicians. So it's not easy, especially when you are a big media company that everybody relies on to get information, right? So it's very painful, and then it's also very emotionally taxing on you, either management as a whole or you individually when you make decisions, because when you apply all this automation, outsourcing, gig economy, and all that, you will know there'll be a bunch of people who will lose their jobs, right? But you must be honest. How do you deal with this dilemma? You need to be honest that the decisions you need to make should be for the stakeholder of the companies, right? For the company to survive, right? So, but when you do that decision, some people will lose their job, right? So it is not a good feeling, but it is something that someone needs to take decision. A lot of the media companies in Malaysia in the past year or so, we see people lose their jobs by the thousands. I don't have to mention names. I don't think I want to mention names. But if you have read enough news, you will know some of the media companies that closed, had released people, and what have you, right? So I think the salient point here is that you need to prepare the company to be agile and lean and mean to face the potential structural change that we will be facing. And we will have a lot more structural change that will be coming in because technological advancements are coming in really, really, really fast. So I think that is the important message that I want to convey to everybody. Sometimes people don't understand, why, this is what happens if you put a chartered accountant as CEO. All he does is just cut costs. But that is what people don't understand. We don't come in, on behalf of the chartered accountants, because I'm a chartered accountant from Australia, New Zealand Institute of Chartered Accountants. On behalf of accountants, I would like to say, don't view accountants negatively. It's not because we just want to cut costs. We want to invest. We want to reallocate resources to actions that matters, that brings in money, right? So I'll give you one example, yeah, for the broadcasting industry. Now, I'm in the unique position because I used to manage the largest TV station in the country, and now I'm managing a TV station that is not even on air yet. Yeah, a new TV station. So we're talking about another TV station that is largest in the country that has got 1,000 staff in their workforce versus a new station that only has about 30 people now. Okay, and I don't intend to grow it more than 50 people pun. But because of the technology that is available now, you can do so. So then the company that is still hanging on to the legacy and very difficult to change, they will have to face the problem of having the legacy workforce. Now, Malaysia used to have Japanese culture where staff are very loyal, stay with the company for 20, 30 years. But now that Japanese culture, I don't think it will work with the dynamic environment that we have now. I think it will have to be gig economy. That means you only have a few people in your company that is managing a particular component or a particular function, but the rest you use whoever is out there in the market. And that fellow, is not just working for you, can also work for your competitor. So this is the most accurate form of the neoclassical Keynesian economic method, right? The demand and supply. This is the purest form because you are not tied up to any company. You can do work for anybody. So this is what gig economy is all about. So I think we have to embrace that. And then with the COVID-19, actually make it even faster, is accelerating this particular method, right? So going back to example, for example, last time we need a huge room, for example, maybe 10 feet, or sorry, 15 feet by 15 feet room, or one whole boardroom full of broadcasting equipment to manage the broadcasting of 4 TV stations, for example. But now all of that technology has been reduced to a particular stacker, just a stacker that can operate, say, 12 TV stations, right? Now what happens? If you take the new technology, you will save floor space rental, you will save aircon, you will save electricity. You don't need 20 engineers anymore, you only need 2 engineers. But the painful thing is 18 engineers will lose their job. So I think humanity as a whole, we all have got the responsibility, we have the fardu kifayah, have to figure out the 18 people who lost their job, right? How do you repurpose them? How do you create new job functions in this new reality? So that people have got purpose in life, people have got jobs to do, to replace the obsolete job because of the change in technology. So I think this is the biggest point that I have learned from the media industry. And mind you, if you follow closely what the technology has given you, actually technology at first may be expensive, but over time it become cheaper. And what would cost something like 200 million, not even 10 years, about 5 years, 5 7 years ago, now only cost less than 10 million. The whole room that I was talking about the broadcasting system, that may cost about 200 million way back in 2010, but now it only costs less than 10 million. Yeah. So you can see things are changing really fast, and therefore you need to make sure the structure that you have in place in your company is something nimble that you can play around. So that means it will not just affect the organization structure, it will also affect the company's policy for human resources, whether you have permanent staff or you've got contract staff or you apply gig economy and what have you, or you work from home, you do hot desking, you don't need the office space, and the whole works. And also a policy about investment, whether you invest in capex on your own, keeping the asset, or you don't invest in capex, you just outsource it anyway. I mean, nowadays people don't buy laptops, they just do leasing of laptops every 3 years. The leasing company will change the laptop. That is the first sign of this gig economy, but in the form of, instead of people, in the form of capital or in the form of equipment. And again, I give you the reference earlier, which is, Uber, Grab, Airbnb, and all this. Why should you have the asset? Why should you own the transport when you can do it the Uber way, the Grab way? Why should you own buildings for hotels when you can do it the Airbnb way? TV stations, why should you own transmission towers, transmission assets when you can outsource it to companies like MyTV for digital TV? So these are all things that, it may, if you put it on the textbook, it may sound very motherhood, very philosophical, but in real life, when you actually face all this, oh my God, it is not a motherhood statement. It is actually a reality that people need to embrace. So I guess Fabio, I think that is, I may sound a bit emotional when when I tell this story, but I'm quite passionate in terms of trying to turn around companies, because that is what I've been trying to do for the past 15 20 years, to help company identify areas of problems and solve it so that they can survive. So yeah, I don't know whether that's a very long answer to a very short question that you asked just now. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Johan.
Yeah.
I've let myself into the conversation. That's the advantage of being a host. You
Yep.
can,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, interesting. Thank you very much. I mean, interesting topic. To be honest, yeah. I mean, interesting that you chose restructuring, corporate restructuring, as a topic for in fact, our inaugural, and your inaugural session also.
Yeah.
To be honest, I had you pegged for more upbeat social issues.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, you touched on a very important part just now when you talk about the emotions that is tagged along with this corporate restructuring. Because at the end of the day, I mean, you admitted to be an accountant, a chartered accountant, but it is still at the end of the day a human story. Yeah. And then the 18 people that may be affected by the restructuring, the very much needed restructuring. If not, the whole ship sinks, and not just 18, but the 20 and even more will be affected. But how do you prepare them and even yourself for this situation? And I think it's important because we may all be part of the 18 at some stage.
Yeah. So if I may, actually, not only people are affected by my decisions, but I am also affected by my decision. Not only we structure the technical, the implementation, sorry, the operations bit, but we also structured the management bit, right? Which makes my job also at that time redundant, okay? Because we had too many CEOs in that company, in the listed group. So we had to structure, and of course, I volunteered to leave because after making all the restructuring, the second last was the HR restructuring, and the final one was management restructuring. So this is something very important, because people will say, oh, management make decision, management cut staff at the lower level, but you still keep the headcount for the top people. This is not fair. So we have to do everything from the top until the bottom. So therefore, if you have to realize, if your job is out, that means you also out. So I also face that both. I also face, the part where I make decision, people lose their job. I also lost my job, because of the restructuring. So to answer your question, actually the best way to do this is to be truthful about everything. So before, in the past 3 years, before we finally decided to do any right sizing or any restructuring, every quarter we will do town hall, and we will show exactly where the numbers are, exactly the market sentiment, exactly what is happening with the competitors and the technology, and what we foresee what will happen, even though it is painful to reveal so. Now, gone are the days where you are trying to sugarcoat so that you try to manage so that things get back to normal. Then, therefore, you hope that I don't have to share in full transparency. No, I think now everything must be transparent so that people can see the direction, so that they understand. Now, initially, it was very difficult for them to start understanding about what's happening to the industry. But once they see their, Channel 10 in Australia bankrupt, they see, some newspaper companies in Malaysia got closed down. You see, a lot of the companies, a lot of the traditional companies, one by one are closing down. So now that they realize, and then they start to think the other way around. Then they start to think about, okay, in that case, I might as well grab the opportunity to get the compensation and take the money from the compensation scheme and open up my own business in whatever industry I want to. So you can see a lot of people who are a lot more positive, in their mindset. They take the opportunity, take the compensation money, and open restaurants, open other business, and what have you. So I think, to answer that question, yes, the truth is the best way to manage emotion.
Okay.
Johan, thanks for
Okay,
sharing.
Sugari, go ahead. Go ahead.
Johan, thanks for sharing your insight about the media industry. And for me, it's something new to me. Like, I'm not very familiar with media industry. I'm quite shocked to hear that we need to revenue for advertising. In the media industry has dropped from 2 billion to 800 million.
Yeah.
So my question here, for the media industry now, for the media companies, how do they replace this so-called big chunk of revenue? Because I believe that advertising has been the biggest, contributor to your revenues, right? So going forward, what are the options for the media people now to get more revenues?
Okay, so the number 2 billion is not the advertising money. Is called ADEX in short form, ADEX, advertisement expenditure. The 2 billion is not the whole ADEX, is just for TV, yeah, for TV ADEX. So now I think the money has gone to digital. And when I say digital, 70-80% has gone to Facebook and Google, right? So for example, like TV, you cannot just hope to get advertising revenue from the traditional TV. You must also structure your business to get advertising revenue from videos or content that can be put on digital platforms. Okay, and that means your content cannot be just focused for one particular platform. It needs to be platform agnostic. It doesn't matter where the platform is, people can consume your content on the phone, on the tablet, on the TV, on the laptop, and what have you, right? So what we did was, I mean, just to demonstrate, where to get the extra revenue. I have done these two things: democratization of digital and democratization of content. Where the content from TV, because we invested a lot of money for TV, might as well we pivot into areas that can bring more money. So the content from TV, I've taken it out and I've democratized it online on tonton.com.my, where you no longer have to pay monthly fees, right? Because I was doing the mathematics, it's opportunity cost. It's either A or B. Which one brings in a lot more money? We were charging about 10 ringgit per month for people to watch content online on tonton.com.my. But it didn't get the momentum because Malaysians somehow do not want to pay for that. I'm not sure. Even for Netflix, it is just about 500,000 accounts only. It doesn't really even reach millions. So we cut to 5 ringgit per month, also cannot get traction. So we had to forgo everything and make it free and try to grab the money from the 1 billion that we lost that has gone to digital. We want to grab it, from the digital platform. Now, when you do that, how are you going to fight Facebook and Google? Those are the two giants. How can a small Malaysian, companies trying to fight with a global Facebook and Google? So what we did was, we studied all the possible technologies, and we decided that, hang on, taking cue from whatever Airbnb and Grab and Uber has done, we were saying that, hey, why should we own our own platform to do this streaming service? Because we were bleeding like 40, 50 million ringgit every year, but we still cannot make money. Why should we do that? If I open a blog tonight and I put the name Johan TV as the blog, right? And then I hire engineer, right, to pirate some content through satellite tab or whatever it is, put the drama on Johan TV blogspot, all right? Okay, and then I will agree with the engineer, okay, I'll give you 40% of the revenue. Then immediately overnight, you will have a TV station called Johan TV online. You don't even need to have the TV set. You just go to that blog and click and the video is there. That is how pirates work, illegally. So I told my team, I want you to create a pirate. We will make that pirate, the model, as legal. So after so much brainstorming, after so much seminars or learning from all sorts of the countries around the world that has got the streaming services, India in particular, Singapore, UK, Korea, and what have you, we had decided to take the biggest technology for video consumption online in Malaysia. 80% of the video consumption in Malaysia is via YouTube, and YouTube is owned by Google. So we went to San Francisco, or to be exact, Mountain View, where the headquarters of Google is. We negotiated with them, and then we proceed in negotiation for implementation stage in Google in Singapore, and then they open office here in KL. So we had decided to drop our technology that we have built since 2010, and we have collaborated with YouTube as our engine, and immediately from 40 million OPEX for streaming service, now down to just 1 or 2 million just for some admin and stuff. And then, but we gain momentum in getting the revenue. So to answer your question, now we are able to tap the revenue from the online. And then because TV3 in particular has got a lot of fresh content on daily basis, where nobody can compete with us in terms of the hours of fresh content daily. So now after less than for about how many years? About 1 year. Now TV3 has become the #1 YouTuber in Malaysia at 150 million views per month. So that was the latest number before I left Media Prima, right? So that is, I think, when I give example, it's easier to address your question. I think that is one of the example. You have to take the idea and emulate in the different industry. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Johan and Sukardi, for that question.
Yeah.
I guess my takeaway from that is the pirate, when you talk about the pirates, so I wonder where the rebel mindset came from. You have to
The
go back as
rebel.
far as 1988 or 1992.
Right. Yeah. I wasn't. My discipline wasn't good lah back then when I was in school lah. I have to admit lah, I had a lot of cases lah, but I think Fabio, I think I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to bring me back to 1988 to 1992. And what sort of person I am. Linking back to who I am now lah. I think it's quite smart lah. You do that. So okay, so maybe I be truthful lah. I study a lot, but I study late night until 3 a.m. when I was in school. Not the best way to study. I wouldn't advise people to do that. But I just cannot think in the daytime. My brain didn't work. So my brain only work at night time. So that's why I study at night time. But during the other times I was a hooligan lah, basically running here and there, potong pagar, keluar malam, bisa rokok, I don't name it lah. I don't need to list the whole thing lah, right? But at the end of the day, even though you do all that, you are not jahat. You are just nakal, right? You just nakal. But if you stay focused, you nakal macam mana pun, you stay focused to study and meet your objective, and you get the enough, A's and the good results for SPM, you will build your character from there on. So I think I would like to take this opportunity to probably, if I have to advise myself, if I can go back to 1992 and advise to the hooligan Johan who was there in Greenhouse, I would advise a few things lah. I would say number one is humility, right? Humility. When you become successful, you will forget that and you will be bongkak and sombong. On your way up, you will meet so many people. Be careful. Be nice to them. Because on your way down, you will meet them again. So, saranan saya kepada budak STAR, old boys ataupun yang masih student, jangan sombong. Humility is very important. Yang lagi teruk, if you are bodoh sombong, itu lagi hancur. So, that's number one. Number two is honest effort. Honest effort ni, the why I use the word effort belakang is not necessarily you just honest and that's it. Tak. Honest tu memang dah sah dah. Memang kena honest. Tak boleh corruption apa bala. But honest effort in your purpose in the organization that you work for. If you have to make the decision for the company, but it makes you unpopular, if you put honest effort, you will make the decision. If you don't put honest effort, you will not make it. You will let it be like that because you don't want to be unpopular. So I have faced all these people. Politicians have debated, about whatever restructuring that I wanted to do in the parliament, and they went and say really harsh words like, pihak pengurusan pengkhianat bangsa dan sebagainya. So those kind of words have been used against me in the parliament debates and all that, because it was gone to, the union has gone through Minister of Human Resources and what have you. But honestly, that is the decision, and you are doing it, with an honest effort, make that decision. So that's the second point. And I think number three is, as I started earlier, talking about the Kodak moment and all that, don't get yourself trapped in the Kodak moment, not the cheese, smile, snap. No, it's the Chapter 11 bankruptcy of the American Bankruptcy Act. So what it means is that you must always be agile. That means the only constant in the model that you're applying is change itself. That is the only constant. When you change, you get out of your comfort zone, you will figure out a lot more, agile ways of managing whatever endeavors that you are undertaking.
Okay.
Yeah.
No lah, I wasn't trying to rope you into any statutory declaration time limit. Kalau sekolah nak take action on anyone who speakers tu. But yeah, true. I mean, and I think the traits of being humble, honest, these are things that is even now, we can always reflect on ourselves. Even yesterday,
Yeah.
where you're being completely honest and humble in our undertaking.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we have a few more minutes if you're still okay, Johan.
Sure, I'm
And,
okay. I'm fine.
get a few more maybe one question or two daripada anyone else. I know.
I know it's not. I can hear. I think on mute. He's on mute. Okay. He's on mute.
Yeah, I know. I know ke Nazmir. Oh yeah.
Hello.
If the question. Okay, I know.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Sorry, I joined the session a bit late, but I
No,
was
no, no, no
entertained
worries, bro.
by Johan's experience and eloquence. But I think some of his points are valid, not just for restructuring. It can also be applied to our day-to-day experience. Can change maybe in the context of company restructuring. The points can be also applied to students, yeah, to teachers, to all boys at large. Probably this we can debate much later lah. Yeah, that's just my short point to that. Of course, Johan has touched a wide variety of the gig economy, of which if I were to listen to it again, I'm sure he would make an apt choice for Minister of apa ni, entrepreneur, rather than just apa ni dekat media Prima. But anyway, kudos to Johan. I think this will be an extremely entertaining sessions lah. Yeah, if it were to be shared to the old boys and students at large.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm glad you. Yeah, no problem. I mean, for information too, we are recording the session, and I'll figure out a way on how to post this to a platform where it can be widely shared dengan other Starians, and also for them to be able to listen to it at their own time. Okay, kalau gitu, may I then suggest that we record our appreciation kepada Johan.